Hey, give thanks for life. Give thanks for life. Oh, chimney, chimney. Today my rise like the sunrise, my bright and my upright. No one can break my vibes.
Welcome once again to Strong and Healthy. Strong, let me see the muscles. Strong and healthy. Dr. Sam Christian with you. And today I have ex-police officer Archibald Samuel. Archibald. Mr. Samuel, welcome.
Morning.
That's a good name, Samuel, by the way. Yes.
It's a name from the Bible.
That's right. And he's a patient of mine, so I'm going to take your blood pressure, if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Okay, so put your hand in through here. And let's put this here. Okay, just rest your hand on your lap while I put this over here. And let's get this going. So 150 over 90 is slightly high, in fact a little higher than when you were in the office just yesterday, and being on the set, have him under a little pressure here. So he's excited, just as I am, as a matter of fact. But you know, my father was a policeman.
Yes.
For a few years before he became a fireman, and spent most of his career as a fireman. As a matter of fact, you're from where?
Mirada.
And you know of my father
at the airport. When the airport just started, he used to be the senior officer at the airport one time, and I got to know him because you know socializing my father and S.O. Pringle and the elites of the village at the time, Misha Clinton and the guys, you know what they were socializing in. So I don't have to tell you.
My father? Well, I'm getting a little bit of a lowdown there.
So we'd always be together and respected him because he would always have a friendly advice. When we would go to the river, go and fish mullets and so, and he would tell us, they need to live too.
Yes.
They need to live. Why are we catching them? They need to live.
Oh, okay.
I would say we like to fry them.
Well, you know, that sounds like my father, because we kept animals, and he always loved the animals. He gave them our cows or pigs, you know, names, Old Bess, Old Talk, and so forth. And he never would participate in butchering them. He had a fireman, Cognet, from Portsmouth.
I know Cognet too.
They call him Red.
I know Cognet.
And he would butcher the animals, yeah. And of course, guess who was his main assistant and became a surgeon afterwards. But it's my pleasure and an honor to talk with policemen, because you do dangerous work. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But how did I get to meet you?
It was after Hurricane Maria, at the funeral of Stanley Fidel. I had this tingling feeling in my fingers, and I met you at just after the funeral, when we were about to embark towards the cemetery, and I said, "Oh, Dr. Christian," and I introduced myself, and I said to you that I had this feeling, and you took me away and brought me to the side and said, "Come, let me deal with you." And you had your bag there with everything in board, and you took my pressure, and you told me my pressure was a little high, but it was passable, and then you put me on some medication and advised me to come to your office after. And I did come to your office after. And when I went to your office the next morning, my pressure was very high because I had strong fever. During the time they call it galvanized or tarpaulin.
Tarpaulin, yes, that's right.
So and it actually stayed with me for about 3 weeks, and I felt I was going to die one morning, and I came to you, and you gave me medication and put me on some pressure tablets, and since my pressure has been 119 over 60, 120 over 70, and hasn't gone above 130. Today, as a matter of fact, yesterday it was 120.
Yes, exactly.
And
exactly.
It was a little high.
It's a little exciting being here on television and talking to our national and international audience. And you know, as a citizen of the world. Anywhere I listen to news reports and a policeman gets killed, you know, it strikes me, it affects me, yes. And I mean, we see a lot of the police brutality, you know, especially in the United States now, and with black men, young men, you know, police, in fact, there's whole talk about white privilege. These mass murderers are caught and they're treated with kid gloves, and a little black boy who probably stole an apple or something is roughed up on the ground and beaten up. So there are two sides to the story, but as far as the dangers that policemen face on a daily basis as you go out there to protect and serve, it is very important that we as a citizenry understand and appreciate the sacrifice of their service. Now, you encountered some dangerous times in your police. You were not just behind the desk in...
Actually, no, I never worked behind the desk. I would...
in traffic or in...
I worked traffic for a few days, but I never liked those kind of things. I love the outdoors. So I used to be in the SSU. I stayed there for 12 years. And we policed just 14 men. Our first leader was Inspector James. He got shot in operation one day accidentally. And then after
Inspector Royer, was it? Or
yes.
The machine gun went off?
I still remember, and it still troubles me sometimes.
Were you there on
I was right there. He was actually standing between myself and Gildon Richards or Angelo Allen, one of those two guys, and when he got shot. Because we were just taking our stuff to go out up in the hills of Montrachet, and we had to just cancel, abort the operation. And
so machine gun went off.
An SMG, we call a submachine gun.
Yes.
It is a weapon that you're not supposed to cock it, because it can be cocked silently, because it is not like the SM, like the M16 or the AK-47, where it's gas operated. It is a spring-loaded weapon.
It's getting into some technical details here, but and I love the ballistics and all that, but the fact is, as far as the danger was concerned, is that this officer lost his life.
Yeah, he died.
He was transferred to Jamaica, was he?
Jamaica, and actually, if we had better medical equipment in Dominica, he would have survived, because actually there was a bullet that lodged into his spleen that they never detected and noticed in Dominica, and it was a copper bullet, so he stayed in there. And he got caught poison or something, and they died. It was a very, very sad day when he passed. A very, very sad day for all of us. Yes. He was like a father to us. Man. We would go out to the jungle, and he would always have enough food and something to feed us. His wife was a very loving and caring lady. She prepared his meal, but always extras that we come here, we can get a hot cup of cocoa tea and things, because we were fed biscuits and cheese and a dumb fruit or something like that, or juice in a can. And that's what we had for. And we used to go into the jungle, 2 o'clock in the morning, come back out at 12 o'clock in the nights. Next morning, we are wet from your foot to your chest. You keep your head dries faster than any other part of your body because of all the heat going up.
So you're talking about the period of time in Dominican history when we call the Dread Wars.
Dread Wars.
And
when they had kidnapped the girls in the women in Portsmouth and took them to the bush, we were tasked with the responsibility to go find them. And we actually went up Monjabete 3 times, and we actually found the boy on Monjabete. My friend, deceased Jean Pestiana, was also there. Also one of the guys. We had a wonderful relationship. A group of men who love each other. A group of men who protected each other and looked out for your welfare, man. I've never seen. I don't think there can ever be another group of guys in the police force today as we were today. Today there's too much selfishness.
We don't want to talk about today just yet, because I want to really revere and pay homage to your service for Dominica. Of course, there are two sides to the story, and some may argue that the government policy at that time was too hostile and aggressive, but this is not the topic of this discussion. The topic of this discussion is you and your service. What made you first choose to become a police officer?
I was in the village of Mirada, and there were some policemen in Mirada, stationed in Mirada, and Ely George, Hiram Grano, my my uncle-in-law, Hiram Christmas, and some other guys. And you would see them on the street, and you want to be like somebody like them. They were neat. You ever see them? Their pants were well ironed, their shirts well tucked in into the. You could see them from a distance and say, "Oh, this guy has some discipline. He's a police officer." So at the time, I worked at Geese Industries as a statistical clerk, and then that was before I was a pharmacy student of pharmacy. Mr. Liebert was my senior dispenser and tutor, and Dr. Wolfson was my doctor. So something came up on the radio somewhere, and he said about that they were recruiting policemen to go to Barbados for training. So I just got up. I said, "Oh boy, good idea! I want to go to Barbados." I just went down, filled out the application form, and ready to go. I'm ready to go to Barbados. Sat exams, and I'm selected. So I'm selected. You've got to go and get a medical test because you go. So here comes who's giving the medical test that day? Dr. Wilson, the doctor that I work with. So it's a surprise to him. I walk into his office, and he looks up at me and he says, "Archibald, where are you going?" I say, "Sir, I'm joining the police force." He says, "You're leaving job as a student of pharmacy to go stand on the street in the hot sun?" And he says to me, last sentence to me was, "Archibald, you'll only be a policeman if I find you." And he did the examination, but he didn't lie. He wrote nothing on the paper. So when he sent all the files back, on the morning we were supposed to go to Barbados or something. So the commissioner calls me and he says, "But Samuel, there's nothing done. You didn't do your medical." I said, "Yes, I went to do my medical." So he says, "But there's nothing written here. You've got to do it again. So you can't go on this. You can't go on this
this trip.
This trip. You've got to go." And it happened that I came on to the second batch of trainees in Dominica, training in Dominica. So that's where I was trained. So when we went back to the doctor and they tested and everything was fine. So I met Dr. Wilson a while after. I was a police officer still. I was in uniform, and we greeted each other. He was the one who told me the best thing for lunch is a beer and a sandwich. Hot beer and a sandwich. That's the best thing you can have for lunch, Archie. Eat that and have a good dinner before 8 o'clock, and you'll live a healthy life. So I stopped him.
So far, it seems like it's working.
So I stopped him and greeted him, and he says, he shook his hand and he says, "You're finally a policeman." "You're finally a policeman. I wish you luck." And he said, "I didn't lie, you know. I never put anything on your form." I said, "I know that." He said, "I couldn't lie. I couldn't put something that's going to follow you for the rest of your life. I just didn't mark anything on your form because you were fine, you were fit. I just left it blank. I knew you couldn't go."
Wow. So when we come back, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about something on the church calendar, a wonderful piece of scripture that I'm going to read for you, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about the history of policing and police as it is now, and the place of the retired police officer in our community today. We'll be right back.
Sweet talk, dear man, have a lot of that. Yes, I. You don't know it's your boy Trilogy, urging everybody, young and old, to stay strong and stay healthy. You don't know we're doing it for 2018. Boom.
Today my rise like the sunrise, my bright and my upright. No one can break my fight.
And what you're looking here was actually a small pilgrimage from Soufriere to Scotshead this morning, and driving in the car was the cardinal, since he can't walk at the age of whatever age he's been blessed with many years, and the pilgrims were walking. You could see the distinctive shape of Scotshead, the very tiptoe of Dominica. And there's the passage that we're focusing on. Verse 39 of Luke chapter 1, reading on to verse 55. At that time, Mary got ready and hurried to a town in the hill country of Judea, where she entered Zachariah's home and greeted Elizabeth. When Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, the baby leaped in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit. In a loud voice she exclaimed, "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the child you will bear. But why am I so favored that the mother of my Lord should come to me? As soon as the sound of your greeting reached my ears, the baby in my womb leaped for joy. Blessed is she who has believed that the Lord will fulfill his promises to her." And Mary said, "My soul doth magnify the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God my Savior. For he has been mindful of the humble estate of his servant. From now on, all generations will call me blessed. For the Mighty One has done great things for me, and holy is his name. His mercy extends to those who fear him from generation to generation. He has performed mighty deeds with his arm. He has scattered those who are proud in their inmost thoughts. He has brought down rulers from their thrones, but has lifted up the humble. He has filled the hungry with good things and sent the rich away empty. He has helped his servant Israel, remembering to be merciful to Abraham and his descendants forever, just as he promised our ancestors." So that scripture, the part of where the baby leaped in the womb, it was very exciting for me as a father to feel the baby jumping in the womb. And when mother would say, "Oh, he knows that you are there," I didn't quite believe it, but that response of the fetus in the womb of the mother that is talked about and described so well in the Bible is something that is fascinating. And it gives us hope, because it says that God sets up rulers and takes down rulers, especially those who are proud in their innermost thoughts. And so for all of those of us who are committed to the idea of development and prosperity and justice for all, we can find something in this, whether or not we are a church person, whether or not we have children or not. This is a very powerful word of scripture. So it is wonderful being with the villagers of Soufriere and Point Michel and Scotshead this morning. Small in number, but wherever 2 or 3 are gathered, you know the rest of that story. I'm back here with Samuel.
There's a part of that scripture.
Yes.
I don't really subscribe to, and I have a different view to.
Okay.
It's the one beside where it says, God puts up rulers and takes down rulers. In the olden days, God gave the people leaders and took out leaders. They had no vote.
Mm-hmm. Oh, voila. I like that. So now the vote is what people need.
The vote is what puts people in the power nowadays. And you can have corrupt people in power by corrupt individuals voting for them in a majority, because it's a majority rule now. Mm-hmm. In God's days, is whether you wanted it or not, he gave you a ruler. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he said he gave people rulers according to their own heart. So what they wanted, he gave them Saul. Mm-hmm. Then he gave them David. Then although David was a good ruler, and they said he said David was a man after his own heart, he did not let David build his temple, because he said David had spilled too many blood.
You see, this man, you're a master of dividing the word, aren't you? But I'm curious about the action. You said you've been shot at.
Yeah, about 10 or 5 or 10 times. I've been shot once. I've bullets in my leg up to now. Mm-hmm. It was never taken out. Doctor said it was too dangerous taking it out. It was lying actually above my sciatic nerve.
Oh my goodness.
And he says going in because it might take it out might do more damage than even it. So
what was the situation now if it's not
it was
top secret and you'd have to kill me if you tell me?
No, I wouldn't have to kill you. It was actually a robbery. In those days, young guys started getting into firearms, and that time Bruce Lee Edwards used to sell firearms at, on Old Street and King George Street, just at the angle of the clock there. He had a firearm dealership store there, and it is from that day they stopped having businessmen have firearms. All firearms are kept at police headquarters now. You have your dealership, they could come to you and buy, but then the firearms are delivered at police headquarters. So they went and broke Bruce Lee Edwards' store in the night. Some dread guys and big boys, we call them dread, and they took the firearms, almost all the firearms from there, and they went to the hills. And it was a Sunday morning when we got the information. Joshua James, may his soul rest in peace, was the guy who got the information. But it's a long story. Some part of it I don't want to get into. And so we were always at police headquarters. The guy of 40, most of us, wherever we went to, we had a girlfriend, and you go out for the night or you go somewhere, somebody, a good friend of yours, knew you were going out, and you would tell him, if we have to go on operation, take my weapon, go, I'm so sort of place, they pick you up there. There was no secret. And we went into the heights of farm. He said he had information that the guys had the guns and they were up in the heights of Glasgow, going up to Glasgow, and we were going for them. So when we were going, I said to the armorer, why don't you give us automatic weapons? I'm not in favor of going up there with just rifles and pistols. Give us some automatic weapons. But in those days, the armorer had the say, and he said, no, I'm not giving all you any automatic weapons. And I remember went up there anyway. When we got up there, see if it was a trap. They actually was gunning for Joshua James. And myself, Angelo Allen, and I was driving. I was with Angelo Allen. And there's another guy by the name of Hodge. Hodge used to have a boat. What is his other name? Something Hodge anyway. He lives on Princess Lane or somewhere up that street.
Yeah.
So he was in the car, and Rabes and the others were in a jeep given by Richards. And they went up the hill, and then we were in Joshua's car, 2592. We used to call it something, a little name we could be afraid. I can't remember now. And as we came up, and they were in the middle of the road, so we had to turn off the road. So our back was facing the house where we were supposed to assault. And I just heard, look him. And they said, look him, and then the next thing I was, badam, 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 badam. So we in the vehicle, and the gas tank is to the back. I said, no, that's not a good place to be. So we bailed out of the vehicle. As soon as I jumped out of the vehicle, I got shot in my leg. And then, your little training, reflex action, I turned around, because when I came out with my back facing the building we were about to assault. So I turned around quickly, and I found myself into a drain, and I saw the guy. So I just quickly let off a wrong to put the guy off aim. Otherwise, I'll get a bullet straight in my head there. If you look over there, somewhere there, you see a mark. There's a mark.
Yeah. Right. You got a bullet?
Just grazed. I was just. As I was coming forward, I saw the guy aiming. So I didn't aim. I just pulled the trigger, and the shot, the bullet, a wrong went off. So the wrong distracted him just enough for him to put him off aim. And in my pulling back, I just got a graze across there.
You read about that in novels and in the movies, and about somebody getting shot in the head and it grazing the head. It always seems like how improbable or how unlikely, but you are actually the very first person I have met who's had a bullet grazed their head.
Yeah, so and the good thing about I tell fellas, when you talk about combat, when you go into an operation and you get fired at, and when you get shot, it is a different situation, where you see everything. That morning, I saw everything turn green. Everything. The only color I could see was green for a few seconds, and you feel like something pierce you, but it pierces with a kind of force and heat. It's just like somebody put a hot rod to your body, and it's like you feel a kind of sting, and then after a while, you feel the pain lingering.
I have no medical or scientific explanation for seeing green, but you know, we give thanks and praise that he survived and lives to tell the tale. And actually, back in those days, there were a lot more, would you say, firefights than today? Or?
Yes, there were more exchanges than today. Today is a one-sided thing. The police comes in and you sell them if any policeman getting hurt or so. But before, those guys, they were tenacious. They were vicious. Their intention was to get rid of us.
You know, my father also served in the British Army in World War II, and his generation pretty much all passed away now. Yes. And we have the Dominica Legion. And, you know, I believe that we have to have a place where we reverence and honor our men who have seen action here in Dominica, because you have something to give back and to give to our generation, which I believe is a rather lawless and disrespectful generation. So I'd like you to speak to that.
That's one of the reasons why I think Gunny Manuel was never given the treatment that he deserved as a war veteran. We have one guy I know here, Walter Norris, I think something like he's still living. He's my neighbor in Casa Comfort. And after the hurricane, when I saw his house, you know, I called Mr. Blanchard and I said to him, you know, there's an ex-veteran here, and his house was destroyed. And there used to be, I said, the last Hurricane David, we had some assistance given to veterans here. Are you in a position to? And he said to me, he's a very nice guy, Mr. Blanchard. And he said to me,
ex-commissioner?
Yes. And he said to me, I'll talk to my daughter, because his daughter is in the ministry. He said, I'll talk to my daughter and see what she can do. I do not know if they were the ones, if he was responsible or she was responsible for whatever. But within the next 2 weeks, I saw his house was repaired. He's not here now. I think he's in America by his children still.
Well, of course, on this program, we try to address health issues,
yes,
primary,
he's sick.
And you know, we try to stay away against controversial political things. But in closing, though, you have some thoughts as to some ideas that the people who follow you in the business of policing, people who inherit your profession. But before that, you served as Chief of Security
at Ross University. I was the first Chief of Security at Ross University in Portsmouth during on the Eugene Charles days. And after that, I was the Chief of Security at the Port Authority in Dominica, and I served there for 18 years. And I'm still dissatisfied with the system that I see going on. They're not up to standard. They're not what I would like to see as a security unit at the Port Authority. Well,
you know, there's no harm in trying to point out ways in that we can improve. Some people in Dominica we tend to keep quiet and not to rock the boat, and without being controversial, we can make constructive criticisms.
You said you don't want to sound political, but sometimes the things that we say and everything we breathe and eat comes out like political.
Construed as political.
I'm going to tell you something about the police force. Management of a law enforcement department.
And you can speak from authority because you had training, advanced training overseas.
In Virginia. I was trained at the Weapon Naval Testing Station in Virginia. I was trained in Maryland. I was trained in Miami. I was trained in Barbados. I was trained in Jamaica.
So you kind of know what you're talking about.
I know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so you were saying before I interrupted you, I think it's important for our viewers to know the stature and the depth of your experience and background.
One of the things that one of the foremost things in law enforcement is managing personnel. You must be able to. You must have knowledge of how to detail and manage men, and you must have thorough knowledge of human rights and justice. That whenever you do something, you send your men out there to do something that you're not violating somebody's rights, and that whatever you do is within justice. And I tell you, Roseau is becoming a lawless place. You walk around Roseau. One of those nights I was in town a little late, And I'm sitting by a bar, and waiting for a guy to come pick me up. I'm saying, well, look at that now. Music is playing here, place of public entertainment. I haven't seen one policeman in the last hour and a half pass this area, except for once I saw a bus pass with some guys in green. But that's not uniform, that's not policing. The policemen are the men in blue and black. And I came up with an idea, I said, but what is happening here? So then, remember Mr. Blackmore made a statement once on the radio that
the Honorable Minister.
Honorable Minister Blackmore, that he's passed around Roseau and he doesn't see policemen in Roseau, and he thinks the police commissioner needed to be changed. And when the Prime Minister came back, the Prime Minister made a statement, and the whole thing went up, and nobody resigned, and they continue. I do not know how the Honorable Blackmore and the Commissioner of Police can continue to coexist in that situation.
So the point you're saying is that you need to see more men on the beat.
You need to see more men on the beat. And I'll give you an example. Roseau Police Station, where we call the general section, needs 120 men. 120 men attached to that department. You're going to put them into shifts of 20. You'll have 6 shifts of 20. You will have 3 shifts of 20 on duty every day. So any hour of the day, you will find 20. You walk around Roseau, general flat place, you will find 20 policemen in Roseau. You will have 40 men on duty.
No, you have women as well, so you say police officers.
Officers on duty. You will have 40 officers off duty, and you have 20-man reserve. So any reports that come in, you have people to handle that situation.
I see.
And I can't understand how the commissioner can't see it, the Minister of Legal Affairs can't see it, the Prime Minister can't see it. We need, as a crime deterrence, you need uniformed policemen on the ground. The criminal fears arrest, being caught. Once a criminal thinks, well, he has a free roaming, he can do what he'll have, crime will escalate. But one of the reasons why fellas don't commit, you think I wouldn't maybe think of committing a crime one day or before? But I don't want to be caught. I don't want to be brought before a court and be sent to jail. So that deters you. But every human being has this inner feeling that some may do some stupid thing if there's no protection and no control. And what
you made a comment that, you know, a police officer in battle fatigues, camouflage, is not...
That's not a police officer. That's not a police officer.
Army, military.
That's military. We doesn't command discipline. When people see people in green, they think of they're going to kill people. They're here to shoot at you. But you see a police officer in uniform, he is an approachable person. You walk into Roseau with some tourists and disguise yourself as a tourist, police officer, and there'll be an officer there with green uniform, and the tourist will pass him and walk a half a mile or 100 yards down the road and go to a police officer in blue and green. They think these guys are there in green are for a specific purpose, but the guy in blue and black is there to help the public.
Yes, to protect and serve.
And that is why in the army they'll shoot you, they'll kill you. In the police force, your job is to protect lives and property. It's a completely different role. And also, in the police act, there's no allowance for uniform. This green uniform came about when we started going to the bush with the dreads and thing, and we were playing clothes and police things. So we were at the loss because they could see us from a distance compared to.
So you issued camouflage.
So we were told by the British that they were going to issue camouflage shot, but that it was supposed to be worn out of town. Only when you go into the jungle and those kind of places. It's a jungle thing. We haven't got an army in Dominica.
The proper term is battle dress uniform.
Yes, battle dress uniform.
So you dress for battle. And whenever foreigners and visitors see people in battle dress uniform,
something comes to the mind. Something's wrong. The first thing they think is that something is not really right or wrong here.
Very secure.
Something wrong there.
I think this is a very fair observation and criticism based on your experience, and I don't think there's any controversy in that. In fact, I would hope that members of the viewing audience, regardless of what persuasion you are, would think of that, ponder those things in your mind, and we have to make. We don't want to call any names, but we don't want to and see how we can make adjustments, based on the standards in democratic societies.
If Mr. Carbon wants your advice, he can call me anytime. He has my number. He has my number, and I will give it to him free of charge. Because I don't understand it. The leadership, they don't seem to have it. They just don't seem. I'm seeing law and order eroding in Dominica day by day.
Let's talk about the matter of respect in closing, because you and I, our generation, are moving on. We've done our duty, and we have to pass on this society to the young people. And there are disturbing signs, are there not,
Very
as
disturbing.
far as the level of respect and discipline. I think with the Cadet Corps, with the Boy Scouts, the Girl Guides, the Brownies, the Cubs, the Pathfinders, that these are disciplined, uniformed organizations that give people, help young people to think in terms that I have to serve my community, I have to do something, I have to be disciplined, I have to eat after I work, not be just given everything on a platter. So in closing, to our young people, what would you say to our young people, and how can people like you, who have been through the fire, literally, what can you contribute to guiding our young people?
First, I would say, I would go back to the Bible, where the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he gets old, he will not depart. One of our biggest problems in Dominica is,
tell the people.
You have juvenile delinquency.
Yes.
Children on the streets, underage, 12 and 15-year-old children, young boys and girls, on the streets at 10 o'clock in the night. Where are their parents? Well, one of the reasons for that is we have juvenile parents. Before, we almost had a stable home where a mother and a father lived in the house, and adults. But here you have children in a community, 4 or 5 women in one house. Each of them have a child, and each of them instills different training habits upon them, and they do certain things. And most of the time, the children are left to their own. And if we want to change this whole system in Dominica now, we've got to do an investigation, a competent investigation of the homes where children live, what they go through, and you can identify and sift out the children that are susceptible to commit crime. And you start your training there, because every child isn't bad. There are good traits in children, but the bad traits in children can be identified at an early stage. I'll give you an example. One day I went into a church, and there was this lady with a little boy. He was about, I would say, maybe about 3 years old. I won't put him about 3. And she was walking with him. He went to a shelf and he picked up something. And she said, put it back, I'm not buying that for you to do anything. And he fell to the ground, broke. So the person has to pay for it. So she goes to him and she tries to spank him. The child rushed on the mother, grabbed her by her legs and beat her.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm standing there right by the cashier.
Wow.
And I'm looking at the woman.
Not good.
And she says, but yeah, he's so easy. I said, you're going to tolerate that? I said, that's what you're going to tolerate? I said, tomorrow when he holds in your foot, you will tell me. So you see at the age 3 years. So that's the child that is identified with aggression. If you don't train that little boy up properly, you have another guy is going to put a knife into somebody and end up in stop families. And these are the things we need to do as a society. Is to, you remember they said it took a village to grow a child? Is to identify these problems, and each of us to do whatever we can do to help raise that child in the way that we think he should grow into society, that tomorrow he's not be an embarrassment to his parents and to the society.
Wonderful, wonderful. You're like a prophet. you know, you speak the words is maybe a bit harsh or strict to deal with, but we have to swallow that.
I like straight shooting.
Straight shooting.
I like straight shooting.
And you've been shot at, and you've shot.
I've shot at, I've been shot at.
Yes, so it's a delight to have you, Mr. Archibald Samuel,
anytime, sir, anytime.
on the show, talking about your own health matters and you know, the dangers of policing and the rewards, actually, because in time we can see the benefits of discipline in the community. So thank you so much, and I hope your retirement you continue to impart this wisdom and strong love to all our people. Okay, good. So thank you for spending some time with us right here on Strong and Healthy. Let me see those big strong biceps. Yes.
I'm going to the gym for a while. But
yes. Ooh, strong and healthy, full of godly reverent fear. Thanks for spending time with us, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next week.
Yeah, you're welcome. Close now.
Yeah.
Hey, give thanks for life. Give thanks for life. Oh, chimney, chimney. Today my rise like the sunrise, my bright and my upright. No one can broke my vibes.